Hello, welcome to another Gundam Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Desert Zaku DR, which stands for Desert Rommel. Which, yeah, somebody named their child Desert. You know, hopefully it's like a code name, right? I think Rommel's his actual name, but, feel sorry for him. But, hey, I mean, he owns up to it. He's got a Desert Zaku, and then he switches to a Dwaj, so he's been doing fine for himself, apparently. But, yeah, this is going to be kind of a weird one. It's almost going to be exactly like it. It kind of takes the initial thoughts a little bit too literally, because I only played these two matches I will show to you today. If you guys aren't familiar, because of something happening with the network for North America, and I think it's happening in Europe as well. Basically, if you're in North America or Europe, you can't play the game. You get network errors, right? And I mentioned this in the testing video. I had to change my DNS to allow me to play the game, and I actually made a room, and I had to wait a while for people to join in, because it seems like because of course, you know, it's in the middle of the day in U.S. time, right? So in Japan, a lot of people are probably, you know, they're fucking falling asleep, right? Or they are asleep. So a little bit tough finding people. So I only got 2 matches here, unfortunately, but I do try to showcase a lot of different stuff with this suit. I'm not exactly... I'll mention this every time I'm playing a raid. I'm not too terribly good with raids, but for this suit specifically, I wanted to show just some different kind of approaches. I want to try... I'm kind of actively testing it out while playing these 2 matches, even though I had a testing video. You'll see I'm trying to approach in different ways. I did use the Zaku machine gun initially during this match. This first one here that you're seeing, and then of course I'll start using the bazooka a little bit more, and then I'll try to combo with range weapons during this match. I'll start throwing out tackles at random intervals to try and see what I can do with that. You know, I might tackle first, then melee, or I might melee then tackle. And I'll even use tackle to finish off low health enemies. You'll see that quite often because, yeah, if you guys don't know, if you haven't seen the testing video, its tackle ability is really good for damage. There is some downsides to it, but yeah, we'll get into it when we get to it in skills. But yeah, this is a 400 raid, and yeah, let's get right to the stats. You have 17,000 health, 20 ballistic resistance with 9 beam resistance. You have 25 melee resistance. You have 10 range strength and 30 melee strength, 130 movement speed with 200 boost speed, 60 thruster gauge, and 69 turning speed. Nice. I think that's actually quite a little bit good for a 400 suit, that turning speed. And for slots, you have 12 close, 10 mid, and 6 long range slots. And for builds, because these are the only 2 matches I did, I only experimented with 1 build, and basically I gave myself more leg health because you're gonna need it. You don't have any leg buffers, and you know, 9 beam resistance. And if you're fighting leg breaker suits, that's going to hurt. So I wanted to prepare for that by giving myself leg buffers. And of course, I also added a little bit more melee, just a little bit more, and then I went for more health. As you can see, I have 19,000 health instead of 17,000. So yeah, and of course, you can also do some other builds. I've seen, or I kind of theorized as well, that forced cooling might be a thing here. I noticed for a lot of suits that have interrupt tackle, which this suit has interrupt tackle, a lot of people will put forced cooling system on them, so that way they can get out of their overheat faster, so they can, you know, tackle more. So that's something you can do. And of course, if you just want to go all melee, yeah, this thing can already 1 combo supports anyway, but if you really want more melee damage against generals, then sure, you know, you can do that as well. Just be careful though, because if you're trying to do like more range strength, obviously you don't have that much strength, and you only have 6 long range slots, so kind of obvious, but yeah, still have to mention it. And then for let's get into the weapons now. For your primary weapons, you have the Desert Zaku rocket launcher, which is 1,600 damage with 6 rounds and 350 range. Basic stunning weapon. It's just a bazooka. I'm pretty sure this is the same thing that's on the clan suit Desert Zaku, except, you know, you're a raid, not a general. And yeah, yeah, just basic stun. That's all. For your melee weapon, you have the Blow Enhanced 2, which is 1,800 damage. And if you guys are familiar with pretty much almost all of the Zakus that have this this weapon, it's the same thing. You get the shoulder tackle, your neutral swing is just a straight punch forward. Unfortunately, as you saw there against the Isaac, It does have very, very short range. Very short range. And you have to be really... almost dropped my phone. You have to be really careful how you approach with these fists because of that short range. However, the shoulder tackle does give you distance, and because this thing does have offense system, you can kind of use that in your favor by using your melee attacks, right? If you guys don't know, offense system allows you to tank a stun enough to where you're not getting stun accumulated stunned, right? You can tank instant stuns while you're doing your melee attacks, so that can be really useful for that. So yeah, of course it does do good damage as well. This thing does have really good melee damage, especially when we start comboing, which we'll get into. Oh my lord. Now on the secondary weapons, starting off you have the chaff grenade, which is 900 damage, 3 rounds, and 150 range. Not too much damage, especially since you have low range strength. But you do get 3 chances to toss a grenade, and of course you can boost while throwing the grenade, and it works like the other, I believe it works like the other chaff grenades in this game, where I believe it will do jamming if it hits an opponent, which I think you'll hide on their radar. So yeah, you know, you can do some stuff with that. Kinda, sorta, not really stealth, but can allow for something to happen, I guess. And of course, you know, damage is damage, and it can help out for stun accumulation technically, so excuse me. So yeah. It's fine, it's a grenade. Next secondary weapon is your second melee weapon, the Heat Tomahawk, which is 1,500 damage. This has the same moveset as the Jwaj and the Jwaj Custom. However, the downswing is technically different in terms of movement. If you're not familiar with the Jwaj and the Jwaj Custom, because they can hover, technically you can do your downswing and let go of your analog stick moving forward, and or I think you can just yeah, you can just slide. You can just slide and hover towards an enemy, revving up that downswing, and get some damage out of it. And of course, this can make it really easy for just sliding in and helping a teammate and hitting an enemy, or you know, hitting an enemy from behind without having to stun them first, right? Kind of slide in there and get some damage, right? However, because the suit is walking, it pretty much it's just a standing version of that instead of hovering. However, that can be a good thing for some people, because I notice when some people play the Jwaj and Jwaj Custom, because of they might fuck up the setup, and they'll actually just either go slightly backwards or stand still in place when they're trying to set up a long range downswing. So this actually could be a good version for you if you prefer not to hover while using this downswing. And of course, the downswing does do significant damage, and the neutral swing, although really slow, it does heavy stagger, so you can hit some, or I believe the side swing is also heavy stagger as well. You can heavy stagger somebody, and yeah, you or your teammates can just start wailing on them if you're not, you know, going for the big boy damage downswing. However, you can only swing once with this this weapon. And if you guys seen the testing video, I did a little funny thing where I heavy stagger somebody and then just start beating on them with the fist. So I want to see that in the match. I want to do that in a match actually at some point. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately 2 matches here. Speaking of matches, the end of the first one has happened. Good works all around. Excuse me. And we'll see what we got going on here today. I'm kind of glad that the Gym Sniper 2 was on my team. But hey, the Gelgoog did really well. Gonna praise him. He's gonna do really good in the next match as well. But hey, 3rd place, 4-2. Did some decent stuff. You know, that was my first ever match, and I got 3rd place with a raid, so I'm totally fine with that. And we'll see how we do in the second match. But yeah, back to the weapons here. Your final secondary weapon is the long range rifle, which is 400 damage, 18 rounds, and 400 range. And this is pretty much just almost 1-to-1 with the if you guys are familiar with the long barrel Zaku machine gun, which I believe can go on the Recon Zaku and the Zaku 1 Sniper. I think even the double antenna Desert Zaku. You guys have to remind me if those are exactly the same. The Zaku, because with this thing has 400 range, but I think the Zaku long barrel Zaku machine gun has a little bit more range. Again, just let me know in the comment section if you guys remember that. But yeah, you shoot somebody, you stand still to fire, it has ASL, and it rapid fires, and I believe it'll take 3 hits to stun. I think you even do a burst of 3, and maybe 4, but yeah, you actually, no, it's just 3. Alright, so yeah, you just shoot it, and they get hit 3 times, they get stunned. So yeah, you have a stun accumulation, which can be really helpful against maneuver armor suits, you know, suits that are boosting directly towards you, or anything of the like, you know, shock dampener suits. You know, if somehow you're ending up in 450 against a Zaku or something, right? And of course, because you have 18 rounds, you can just, if you can space it out correctly, yeah, that's multiple stuns in a row. This thing does have a benefit for this this raid, because at 400, there's hardly any kind of raids that can bother a support at range. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head is the Zudo. That's a level 4 suit at 400, which can do fine, you know, heavy stagger range weapon. But for this suit, it's kind of valuable that it has the ability to pester a support that's like up on top of hill. Let's say it's like desert, right? You can just keep poking the support and preventing it from sniping at generals, right? So yeah, I think it does have a little bit of value. Unfortunately, I'm not too big of a fan of the weapon, but I know some people are really good using it. So you know, that's just them, and that's just me. So it'll be interesting to see how people utilize that to approach a support, because it does have pretty good range, you know, 400. And I do think at maximum range it is kind of iffy. People can easily sidestep and only get shot once or twice with it. It really depends, right? A little bit better at aiming and hitting shots at closer ranges. But yeah, that's it for the weapons. And now for the skills, you have balancers, you have assault booster level 2, you have maneuver armor level 2, so you take less damage and you can tank instant stuns while boosting. You have offense system, so whenever you're doing your melee attacks, you can tank instant stuns again. However, you can still get affected by stun accumulation. So let's say you're fighting another Desert Zaku DR, and they're using the Zaku machine gun. If you're using your downswing towards their direction, and they stun you with that Zaku machine gun, yeah, you're stunned. It's stun accumulation. Just as an example, right? Or if you're boosting towards them. You do have melee combo control level 2. However, that's on your fists only and not your tomahawk. You have power accelerator level 2, and that means if you clash with somebody, you can actually immediately get out of the clash to initiate another melee attack or maybe do something else. So that can be really valuable against other raids or suits that have 3 melee priority, like let's say the Gundam, right? The Grandpa Gundam. So yeah, pretty useful for that. Next skill is shock absorber level 2. You do have blast stabilizer as well. That means you can tank a mobile suit explosion without getting heavy staggered. You just walk right through it. You know, pretty useful for a melee suit. You do have right shoulder armor buffer level 2. I believe that's 15% off when you get shot in the shoulder there. And you do have optimized cooling, and whenever you start boosting, it will take 10% off of your boost gauge, which is pretty nice, because it works hand in hand along with the other melee skills. Oh, wait, you have interrupt tackle as well. I forgot to mention that. You have interrupt tackle, and basically, yeah, you just you hit somebody, you can use your melee, and then you can tackle. You basically cancel your animation to do a tackle. So if you're using the tomahawk, you can hit as soon as you hit that downswing. You know, you hit the hawk. That's, I think, is what we'll call that term. If you hit the hawk, you will you can instantly tackle after that. And of course, if you're doing the shoulder tackle, you probably saw that a few times this match. When I do the shoulder tackle, you can boost right when you're doing the shoulder tackle, which is pretty good. And this all works in conjunction with this final skill. Have you guys seen the testing video? You have a skill called Shield Claw Tackle. And what this does is if you're not boosting around, if your thruster gauge is empty, you will do an insane amount of damage, almost heavy attack levels of damage. I believe in the testing video, with just the base stats of this suit, I did 6,700 damage to a support. Combine that with interrupt tackle and 2 melee attacks, and you can see where this suit's damage can truly shine in its melee. This suit, I can't, you know, of course, I have to play more matches with it to show you how nutty it can be. But holy fuck. You will do a lot. You will one combo supports. You will do over half the health of generals depending, of course, on their melee resistance. But yeah, the only caveat, I think that's what I'm looking for. The only kind of downside to this is that you can't be boosting around. If you boost at least once before initiating a tackle, it will cut the damage off. However, the tackle is still significant. I believe you guys saw throughout these two matches that still doing at least 2,000 or close to 2,000 damage per tackle. So even then, it still does good enough damage, right? And I believe the skill says that it does damage based on how much thruster gauge you have, but it actually just doesn't do that. Basically, if you just boost once, it doesn't matter if you just boosted once or if you're near overheating your booster gauge. It will do the same amount of damage. It won't be the big boy damage of whenever you're not boosting. So yeah, this will go straight into the pros and cons. I'm going to go for the cons first. Obviously, 9 beam resistance is pretty low. If you're running into, like I said in the first match, I'm glad I had the White Dingo Gem Sniper 2 on my team. I would not want to fight that as this suit. That thing has really good leg breaking ability, and combine that with having no leg buffers on this suit. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. You can get your legs broken pretty fast. And there's a few moments in this match, I wasn't actually being targeted that much in my leg area, but there's a few match, I have level 2 leg parts on this, and they were still taking significant damage as somebody was kind of aiming towards them. And if somebody intentionally, if somebody's intentionally doing leg breaker parts, or leg breaking that's their tactic, then yeah, you might be in trouble. Another downside is this thing doesn't have a dodge roll, and well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, or I say obvious. You can see why that's bad. Low beam resistances, low pretty legs, and you can't dodge. So you have to be really careful how you approach. And this is kind of sort of maybe a downside. It's more the skill itself is more of a positive, but a downside for the shield tackle is that you can't. If you've been boosting, which if you guys play this game long enough, you'll know that boosting is pretty integral in doing combos. And if so, you have to be careful how you do a combo, or else you're going to miss the big damage, right? But that leads directly into the positives, and that's because of the way this thing can melee. This thing is a melee monster. It's very terrifying in close range combat, even if you're a general. This thing has, because of the ways it can string its combos, it's actually very versatile in how it can approach a situation melee-wise. I mentioned that you do have distance on the downswing of the shoulder tackle, and you combine that with your tackle. You have interrupt tackle with that. You do have the tomahawk that can heavy stagger on the neutral swing. You actually saw a few examples of this during these two matches that I showed you. I was talking about it earlier, where I wanted to try and experiment with this suit. And I think against the Zaku, you saw me. He did a dodge roll, so I tackled him, and then I did I had my tomahawk, neutral swinged him, so he was heavy staggered, and my teammates were around him, and I was around him. He was gonna die at some point, right? That's something you can do. You can be very basic about it, where you can just stun somebody with a bazooka, going for a downswing with your shoulder tackle there. That's it. You can do that, and then you can do another one. You can do 2 quick downswings off in a row. You can play that basic if you want to. You're still a decent melee suit without the shield tackle, the shield claw tackle, because you have a heavy stagger melee and you have a fist. It's really close range, but yeah, you can still do good with that, even without the shield claw. And with the shield claw and interrupt tackle and offense system, all that stuff, it does really add up to the suit being very, very dangerous at close range. And of course, we're just fucking around with it these two matches, and you can see the potential. I saw the potential, and I can't wait to see what people will do with this, because holy fuck, I cannot explain to you I cannot articulate how crazy it can be, how can it approach situations with its melee, with how it can just do stuff with it, right? Besides just Unga Bunga, right? But yeah, also forgot to mention for the claw shield skill that you actually do go further when you tackle when you have no boost gauge. I forgot to mention that, so that's my bad. And you'll actually notice a few moments during the I think the second match. Actually, I think it was the first match where I'll tackle from a distance away to get a kill. Which, you know, that will lead to another positive. The shield claw ability, amazing. Another positive is just the rest of the skills this thing has. You know, the offense system, the maneuver armor level 2, stuff that helps you pull off your melee better. And yeah, very much appreciated for this kind of suit. Is it too good? We'll have to figure out, though, in the coming weeks, because obviously I haven't really, again, these are my 2 matches with this, and as I'm talking right now, the North American servers aren't up yet, so I haven't seen other people play this too much, so it'd be very interesting to see how it will fare. Another positive for this suit, which is a little bit of a surprising one when I was talking about how good the melee is that the range on this suit, like the range weapons, is pretty decent. I mentioned, I say not really damage-wise, but what I mean is, back when I was talking about the machine gun, the long-range rifle, is that you can just poke and interrupt the support multiple times. That is very valuable for a raid to have at a cost like 400. There's plenty of snipers at 400, and yeah, I feel like that's definitely very helpful, especially on some of those, you know, like trenches or something. Those kind of maps that will help out a support. It's not just, and of course you can just whittle down the support and get close enough to it to where you can start initiating the combos, right? You still have to be careful because, you know, generals, right? So yeah, I think there's one more positive I want to give this. I did say range weapons, but I guess, you know, just the weapons overall, I should say, is pretty good. I think that might be it. Unless it's something surface level, like, oh, it looks kind of cool. At least to me. I know people like making fun of it, but, you know, I like that schnoz it has. It's a Jawagu's younger brother, right? But yeah, it's going to be in this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And, you know, type up in the comment section how you feel about the Desert Zaku DR. Do you like it? Do you hate it? As I said, I am not much of a raid player, but this suit is really fun to play. If it turns out that this suit is actually just shit, it's just not that good, then I would still pick it to have fun with it. It reminds me of the Ramzagok. It's basically the Ramzagok just upgraded, because it has the ram attack pretty much, except it's tied to interrupt tackle and your boost gauge. And you can do crazy damage with this. And I mentioned that you can do different approaches with your melee depending on the situation, and you do have the weapons to help back you up. It helps out. You know, you don't just have a typical I'm going to stun you with a bazooka and I'm going to melee you, or I'm not going to just charge up my heavy attack and just walk towards you, right? I feel like there's a little bit more going on with the suit that I really do appreciate. I do feel bad for supports, though. I know a lot of people were talking about the devs really hating supports. Even though I think the last support they gave out, the Rizel, I almost said Team B. God, it has a really awkward name. The one that had the big old backpack at 650. I think that was a pretty good support. I've been seeing that support a lot more, so I know that support is good in a lot of people's eyes. So I'm glad that support's been doing really well. But yeah, and also looking at how they've been adding low-cost suits, because this is a 400 cost suit. I think actually all the additions of anything below 400, and that includes clan suits, have really affected the I want to say like the general meta of the low cost. You know, for a big example, that would be the Aqua Gem, the Zaku Marine type, and the Aqua Gundam. Those suits dominated when they came out. They did nerf the Gundam, but you still see them. You still see them quite often. And, you know, at a really low cost, the Zaku Marine type, or, you know, like the Aqua Gem. The Dom single cannon, I know, is pretty devastating as well. The double antenna Zaku Desert is so good that it should technically be available for us to get at some, but they keep not giving it to us. That says a lot to me. That's how good the DA is. That they still yet to kind of do something. They've been having the typical, like, oh, you got to play Brawl ranked. It's like, okay, well, you have to get, I think, first place to get that, right? But or first place in your group of people. But yeah, and this is another example of one of those low cost suits that got added, banner or clan match wise. Yeah, the Desert Zaku is really good too. Not the DR, this one, but the DR. As I said before going into the regular Desert Zaku, this is the most recent edition for low cost, and yeah, it's good. I really wish the devs can take a look at the rest, like the suits that are in this game before those suits came in, and take a look at them and see if they can make them somewhat on their level. Because, as I said, almost every one of these new additions for low cost had just been dominant. I can see this suit being pretty dominant. Now, again, that can depend because it does have some weaknesses, like the low beam resistance and low leg health. I am worried about how this suit will fare overall because I put this in the hands of a really good raid player, and we'll see exactly what it can do. So I'm really hoping that once the servers come back, and maybe the time I'm talking here, maybe the servers are back, which is unfortunate, but because I already finished wrapping up my thoughts on this, but hopefully I get to see the crazy shit that it can pull off. I can see what I imagined realized in real time. But yeah, that'll be it, and I will see you guys later. I think I already kind of did the typical sign off. Yeah, tell me how you feel about the Desert Zaku. And yeah, and I hope to see you guys for spectator matches. I think by the time I post this, it'll be today. And you guys can show me if you guys got the Desert Zaku DR. Show me how good it can be. But yeah, that'll be it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.